Hello everyone, I'm Leslie Cornwell, nurse midwife with Midwifery Business Consultation. Part of the Financial Freedom for Birth Worker course has to do with the cash flow quadrants. If you haven't heard this reference before, it's from Robert Kiyosaki, and he talks a lot about the four categories of how you can make money in today's society. So we'll get more into details on those four categories. The reason the cash flow quadrants are so important is understanding where you are now and where you want to be. If you're taking this course, you want financial freedom. You want to be able to live on your own terms, have unlimited time, and have the money coming in so you don't have to have the worry about health decisions, vacation decisions, opportunities in life. Like I talk so much, especially with midwives and birth workers, if we could support and serve women without having the budgets and the business plans and the challenges around money with our businesses to support women and families, how much more we could do, how many more women we could serve, how many more access to resources. Like there's so much possibility with financial freedom. And that's why I've created my company. I've created these courses because I really want everyone to know in the United States, we are very blessed that you can create financial freedom with the right mindset, tools, and resources. So cash flow quadrants, there's four categories to these quadrants. There is the E, B, S, and I. E stands for employee, B stands for business owner, S stands for self-employed, I stands for investor. Most people in today's middle class, lower class are part of the categories on the left side of the quadrant, the employee and the self-employed. The rich, the upper class, the people creating financial freedom for themselves are more on the right side of the quadrant, the B and the I side, the business owners and the investors. You own a system, you own investments versus you have a job or you are your job. Being self-employed and business owner are very different mindsets, categories, thought processes. So self-employed is a small, tiny business. You're exchanging your own time and skills for an income for the value. A business owner has usually more than 500 employees, and you've created a system that will run whether you're present or not. So you hire the office manager, you hire the administration, you hire the system to fulfill your dream versus your being your dream. So there's a big shift in mindset to the different cash flow quadrants, especially the left side to the right side. And you can be in all of them. I just want people to understand there is very much differences between leveraging other people's money, skills, talents versus leveraging nothing except for your own talent and skills. There's a limit to those resources and time. So I really want you to start thinking, how can I create more income in my life? How can I make my money work for me? How can I make these amazing talents around me work for my mission and goals of a business, of where you want to be in life? So currently, I want you to think about, where is your money coming from right now? If you had to just pause this video for a little bit and think about, are you an employee? Are you working for somebody else? Do you have an employment contract? You get paid every 2 weeks. And if you stop working, you'll get that paycheck 2 weeks later. Are you self-employed? Do you have your own private practice? Do you have your own doula business, lactation consultant, a midwife, home birth practice, birth center practice, a hospital practice? You are the owner, you're the one responsible for everything, but the income is really dependent on your business, on your direct skills and time being involved into the practice. A business owner, I know there's many great birth workers that have businesses. It's more the franchises. It's I know a couple amazing doulas that have 15, 20 doulas under her agency, and she has an amazing business owner system. Right now, she has to be part of it. It's a hybrid between self-employment and business ownership. She's creating the system. She's creating the skills, the talent, the people that can run her agency. Once she's out of the picture, she'll still get the cash flow and the leverage from her long-term investment, but that business will run successfully whether she's part of it or not. So it gives you the opportunities. It's not so much saying you have to be out of your business. It's just saying that you have the choice. You can choose to make your time part of the business or not, and you're still going to get cash flow from your return of your hard work initially. The investment side is my favorite because it's the place that you can build the most wealth. There's multiple investment streams, and that's what I'm going to spend the most time on in this discussion. So with the quadrants, determining where your cash flow comes from now and understanding where you want your cash flow to come from in time. So most people are going to want to get a business of some kind and get multiple investment streams going to create that financial freedom. If you do not shift to that mindset, if you do not start creating those other streams of cash flow, it's going to be extremely difficult to become financially free. So this is a great quote from Robert Kiyosaki. You can never have true freedom without financial freedom. So people do not realize how much of a strain money has on our mind, on our choices, on our decisions in life. If you could close your eyes right now and truly picture if money was no object, you had no barriers, you had $1 trillion in the bank account, what would you do right now? What would you truly do with your life's purpose, your time in front of you? Your mind is going to shift to a totally different level of creativity than it would have with the financial barrier we put on ourselves in decision making and options we have in life. Important questions to ask yourself. Are you financially free? Most people are not. You probably wouldn't be listening to this video and this series if you were financially free. What quadrant are you currently in? We talked about it briefly. You can be in more than one. What quadrant fits your personality type? We'll talk about the mindset of each quadrant. We'll talk about the strengths and weaknesses of each of those cash flow directions. What do you want to be when you grow up? I know we are adults, but your priorities shift, your experiences in life shift, and maybe why you went into your original career and your life, having kids, getting married, traveling, hobbies, knowledge you've gained has really changed your perspective of what you really want to do with your life's purpose. We are taught from being very little, you go to school, you get good grades, and then you find a safe, secure job. But that's not what the rich do. The rich are taught a very different path to their children. You do go to school, you do get an education, you do graduate, you build businesses, and you become a successful investor. Becoming an entrepreneur, having that creative value mindset takes knowledge, it takes skills, it takes a certain cultural exposure to be familiar with it. If you were growing up in a typical middle-class family, you're going to learn from your parents those typical middle-class mindsets we will talk about. Money supports life. I have so many conversations with people all over the country about money and the psychology behind money and how many people think talking about money makes you greedy. Talking about money means that you're corrupt and that you want nothing more but to sit like Scrooge when we were little watching that show and count our money. And that's far from it. Money is very important in life. If anybody tells you money is not important to them, they're lying. It is important. It's how we feed our families. It's how we put a roof over our heads. It's how we put gas in the car. It's how we go on vacation. It's how we pay our bills and have access to health and continuing education and opportunities for our business. Money supports your life, whether you want to admit it or not. But it doesn't have to be the most important thing in life. It's just an important aspect of your life that we have to give respect and recognition. Time is your most valuable resource. So many people, when I talk to them, and you can debate if mind and time are your most valuable resource. An asset and a resource are two different things. But your time is finite, and nobody knows how long we're going to be on this earth. But we're trading our time for a paycheck. We are trading our most valuable resource so that somebody else that owns the business can now have that time and that freedom. So I want you to think and start shifting into a different direction of, I want to be the one respecting my most valuable time. I am worth this amount. I want to create systems. I want to create investment opportunities that I can start getting back my most valuable resource. Your most valuable asset, your mind, is a totally different subject about the more knowledge you have and the more applied skills you can provide to a community and build relationships will increase your money streams and your opportunities presented to you. Financial freedom is possible for anyone, especially in the United States. Like we talk about with the pandemic and all the stressful things and so much happening outside of our control, the Federal Reserve is printing so much money right now and putting it into the stock market. And I should go back. The United States is printing currency, not money. Money has a store of value. So currency, fiat currency is what's being printed all over the world. And we feel sometimes like it's not a capital market. I want to better my family. I want to do something more. And it's very difficult. But when you have the United States compared to so many other developed countries, the regulations we have here, the business opportunities, we have so many skipping steps that other countries have to create a business, to open, especially with the information age, with having marketing online to millions of people. To start a business is the cheapest it's ever been in the world's history because of the internet and the information age. So take advantage of it. Use your amazing knowledge, skills, your unique niche and passion and drive to create an amazing business. It doesn't have to be a massive business. It can be a small business. It can be anything that your heart desires, and create investment streams that will support your long-term goals of where you want to be. Financial freedom isn't something that's a get-rich scheme. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but it can definitely happen in 5, 7, 10 years, depending on how much debt you have right now, the bad debt versus good debt, what your current cash flow streams look like, what skills you have, what current family income you're at. There's so many variables to determine when financial freedom can happen for you. I definitely help people all the time make for their businesses, make for their personal life, a specific blueprint that works for them based on their unique goals. I want to be financially free in 10 years. And financially free means you have enough passive income coming in from your businesses, your investments, that will cover your standard living expenses. So is your living expenses now going to be the same as your living expenses in 10 years? Usually the cost of everything goes up based on inflation, 3% a year. So you have to calculate that all out. If you want $1 million, $1 million now does not buy you the same purchases as it does 10 years from now. So you have to calculate out what is financial freedom, what's your overhead expenses month to month, and where do you want to be? What do you want to be doing if there were no barriers? Life is more important than money. Our health, our well-being, our sole purpose have to be honored and have to be respected. We get one life to live, even though in the moment it seems so overwhelming and we have all these obligations. But the pandemic has had its positives as far as going back to the basics, spending time with family, figuring out where we really need to put our money and start saving for emergencies. It's a huge reality check when most people are living paycheck to paycheck and you all of a sudden can't work because of a lockdown. Puts a huge reality check on people that I need to save. I need to create investment streams that are not going to be affected by a lockdown. I need to create businesses that can handle the highs and lows of the unpredictability of today's society. That's why with the information age and having the internet and remote opportunities with your business, you can do it from home, you can do it from anywhere and still do the safe distancing with the COVID-19. So you just need to think about things in life and realize what is most important. Where do you want to be, and what is it going to take for you personally to create financial freedom? So think about those cash flow quadrants. Think about where you are now and where you want to be, and make a list. Make a list of what you want out of this life and how you would have to get it. Very specific, objective goals to make it happen. Having financial freedom allows you more time for family and friends, allows you to donate to charities and projects that you love and you support. We have so many misunderstandings about the rich that most of them are huge advocates of charities and projects and creating businesses that help the greater society. If money wasn't an object or an issue, think of all the businesses in the nonprofit organizations you could create that you are very passionate about. You could be creating jobs for your community and helping to make a stronger financial stability, not just for your family, but the bigger system. When we do paycheck exchanging for time, we're only focusing on ourselves and our bills and our overhead. When you're creating businesses and you're getting a passive income stream that now is bigger than your living standards, you are able to create so many opportunities for your bigger community, your neighbors, your friends, your family. Having time to take care of your long-term health issues. We are not going to be able to live forever. We're not going to be able to work forever. Our minds aren't going to be at their par of where they are now. Healthcare is getting so much more expensive. I've been reading a lot of studies about how few people are going to truly be able to retire in the next 10, 20, 30 years with the money printing and the mindset that debt is good. We're just going to keep printing and printing and the debt will just disappear. And so this mindset of saving, because the value of your currency diminishes so quickly now, that it's hard to encourage people to want to save money when they know that it's not going to buy them as much in the future. But if we can get you to shift that currency, that money printing can buy you businesses, it can buy you assets, it can buy you things that will follow the inflation pattern. They will create appreciation. They will make more money as there's more currency being printed. Being able to travel and to have numerous hobbies. If you could be able to show your kids, the next generation, what financial stability looks like, give them a financial education, give them a life where they're not just watching on TV and documentaries animals, that you can show them in real life and experience things they'd never ever be able to see on their own. There's a small difference in the habits, in the changes you do. It's the difference in time. So paying yourself first, putting money away, instead of living paycheck to paycheck and buying something with bad debt, buying something with a loan that you're now paying interest and paying more for it in time, is getting into a shift of how can I create income streams. If I really want this new car, instead of being a middle class mindset and going and getting a loan and then paying the interest on the loan over time, you're borrowing from your future self. You can now create, okay, I'm going to buy a few more rental properties. I'm going to get XYZ cash flow income stream that's going to cover the overhead of that new vehicle. So that's how the rich think. If they want something, they create additional opportunities, businesses, income streams that will support that new added expense into their life. So each quadrant has a massive difference in lifestyle options, choices, short-term and long-term opportunities. So people that are employees hope to retire and being more dependent on the system. Even there's CEOs that have that employment mindset versus the business owner mindset. And they're very much under the assumption that they want security, they want they're going to exchange their time and that secure mindset so that someone will take care of them in time. But that's becoming a lost art. The retirement is getting less and less, and that's why financial freedom and passive income and learning about business and finances is so important for all birth workers and anyone that wants to have a long, fulfilling life. Sole proprietorship have a hard time retiring. So somebody that's in the S quadrant, their income is very much linked to the time they're investing into their business. Unless you sell your business you've created to somebody else, which is harder to do in the birth world, and then get a nice long-term passive income off of that, usually you've got to be saving up for retirement similar to an employee and creating your own investment streams, cash flow streams, to be able to live off if you want to retire. A business owner can choose to retire or sell their business or let their kids take over it and create a family legacy. I'm a huge advocate with my children, teaching them about business, teaching them about finances, giving them so many more opportunities that I didn't even have growing up. I think of now, if I would have known so many of these things I know now 10 years ago, I could be retired. I could be financially free right now. Money doesn't care if you're 18, 40, 50, 70. It's the knowledge, it's the skills, it's the things that we're not teaching our children and our next generation unless you're fortunate to have an entrepreneurial business family member teaching you these things. So I want you to take the initiative to teach your children, teach them about these things. There's a lot of great books. Dave Ramsey has great books for kids. Robert Kiyosaki has great cash flow games for kids and CDs and workbooks. So there's so much we could be teaching our next generation so that they can understand. Even if they want to work for somebody, I want ourselves and our children to understand the differences of how you can make money and find the one that fits your personality and where you want to be in life. Investors, which is why I'm going to stress this the most in the presentation, are my favorite. It gives you a limitless cash flow potential. You're not dependent on your skills, your time, your contributions into that investment. You're leveraging other people's resources, skills, assets that are present that you put together to build a consistent investment stream into your life. So a return on investment. So how much you put in and what are you going to get out of it? So the traditional one that people are more familiar with are stocks and bonds, mutual funds, pension plans, if you're part of a company that still offers those. My favorites tend to be small business ownership and real estate investing. So getting an amazing team together and creating in my business passive income. So online education. These courses you're taking right now are great passive income opportunities because you do your initial investment, your time, and they have unlimited cash flow potential in the future. Unless things update or tweak, I don't have to do much more to these amazing investment streams. I have multiple investment streams. I have rental properties with a great real estate property management company that takes care of them for me. I get a check every month. I get updates if there's issues, concerns. She takes care of the evictions, the problems, the goods, the bads, all the paperwork, but you create an asset that you buy the house, you make the numbers work with a property manager, and you get a cash flow from those houses time and time again. As the currency gets printed and inflation happens more and more, your house increases in value. So that's a way to store your value when cash is a hard thing to do that in right now. Commodities are more like gold and silver, and those are great ways to hedge inflation, and we'll talk about that in another section. It is more than just about the quadrants. It's a mindset, it's a strength, it's a weakness. Some people are very good at working for somebody else. They really want the security mindset of knowing they'll get a paycheck in 2 weeks. They'll instantly, their time is converted into a currency. Business owners tend to be more risky. They tend to be bigger picture. They tend to want their own timeline, they want their own mission, they want things done a certain way, and it's harder to be an employee if you have that mindset. So understand your personality type, understand where you want to be short-term and long-term in life, and if there's skills you don't have yet, knowing that you're coachable and you're willing to learn. And business owners and investors, you have to be driven, you have to be motivated. You can't just say, well, I want to have passive income now. Well, you're going to have to work towards it. If you currently have debt, you have to pay it off. You have to keep your 9-to-5 full-time job and then do your small business on the side, the weekends, nighttime. You're going to have to prioritize fun, get-togethers versus this short-term investment to create where you want to be long-term. So those are things you have to decide in your life, where you want to be, where are your current priorities, and where do you want your life to be long-term? Because if you keep doing the same thing you're doing now, the same thing's going to happen in the future. So if you want a different future, you have to start analyzing what habits and what priorities need to shift in your life. Each path signifies very specific thought processes, skills, outcomes. So somebody that's an employee is going to think very differently than somebody who is an investor. And so just get back to the basics. Get back to thinking about, why are you taking this course today? What do you love about your life? What are you frustrated with your life? How much money do you have in the bank account? Can it support you if you stopped working for an hour, a day, a week, forever? Like, where do you want to be? And put a list of everything. Those are your vision board. Those are your motivating factors to get you when things are tough and you're feeling frustrated. Because it's a long-term investment. If you start a business, you're not going to see the return instantly from it. If you're doing investment streams, it's going to take time to create those and build to where you want to be. So this is breaking down the different quadrants for different people. So the E quadrant, the employment contract quadrant, is typically someone's mindset. I'm looking for something as a safe, secure job with good pay and benefits. You want security. You want more that you want somebody else to take care of the responsibilities, the headache of the business itself. You want a subset responsibility. You're being contracted for exchanging your time to do that skill set for money. So having pensions, having insurance, those are detailed conversations people that are in the employment quadrant really want to know about. So security is in response to an emotional fear, hate the feeling of economic uncertainty. So people right now with the lockdowns and the pandemic and businesses really unsure how many people they're going to take back, there's a lot of fear and uncertainty right now. As an entrepreneur, I have a completely different mindset about all this. I have it as excitement, opportunities. When you're adaptable and you see all these possibilities, your creativity goes through the roof. So me, I'm more the direction of the business owner and the investor, because I look at uncertainty as where is the value need to be created right now. It was different last week. Things have changed, the lockdown, online education, being able to help other midwives and birth workers with the business side, and being able to the pandemic is getting families to understand healthcare is crazy expensive. Hospitals are made for sick houses. Women want normal, and they were going back to midwifery care. They're going back to, I want to breastfeed. I want my baby to get the best immune system possible. So these are amazing opportunities for birth workers in today's society, and creating private practices. They want affordable, high quality, personalized care that's safe. And guess what? Midwives, doulas, lactation consultants, birth workers, we are the hallmark of all that. So I truly see, if we're going to try to be the positives the best we can of this awful pandemic, it's the opportunities it creates for birth worker entrepreneur mindset. So back to the E quadrants. People that are in employees, they tend to ask questions about what the benefits look like, what's the compensation package, I'll give you this if you promise to give me this. Money isn't always the driving factor. They'll tend to take a pay cut or take less than they had if there's more security, if there's more long-term compensation parts of their job. So it may not be the extra money that's the determination. If you're having a conversation considering hiring somebody for your business, you have to understand how an employee looks at things. They want safety, security, tell how amazing your business is, your short-term and long-term goals, and how it's a good, secure place to work versus focusing on the money. Examples of employees are factory workers, teachers, government employees, police officers, nurses. Many doctors nowadays don't have their private practices. They work for hospitals. So anybody else that has an employment contract. So different quadrants for S, so self-employment, they tend to want to do things themselves. They tend to be more independent. They tend to have the mindset, I'll do everything myself. versus hiring somebody. They will contract with somebody, an independent contract relationship, for a flat hourly rate, a percentage, a commission attitude, something where they want a specific, they're still contracting their time, but it's on their time, that you're not telling them you have to work 7A to 7P. They choose when they're going to come in, and they're actually, you're coming to them and they have the terms, they have the advantage. This is the way I run my business, and this is what I consider is worth my time, and you can either take it or not. So it's a different mentality shift about an hourly rate. So a lot of the fears and emotions of economic uncertainty are very different than an employee. They don't so much want security, they want the control of the situation. They want to have options, choices, autonomy. So it is very difficult for somebody with that personality type to be employed, because if you sign up with a job description, but then circumstances with a pandemic change that job description, people that are self-employed personality have a really hard time being an employee, because they don't like to be controlled and micromanaged. So people that are S quadrants are hard workers, motivated. They tend to be perfectionists and want to do everything themselves. Money isn't always the driving factor. It's the independence, the freedom, choosing when you're going to work on your projects, choosing what projects you're going to work on. Being a business owner, especially self-employment, is a great stepping stone towards financial freedom, because it gives you a taste of that motivation, the autonomy. The money is not going to come in unless you put in the work, versus you clock in, you're getting paid for that hour whether you work hard or not. So for example, a lot of doctors have private practices, lawyers, dentists, midwives, birth workers tend to be more self-employed. It's hard to take a vacation. It's hard to retire. It's hard to have a medical situation. I mean, having a young family and kids is very difficult being self-employed. Maternity leave, what if some medical issues come up during your pregnancy or your kids need things? It's harder to be self-employed and have that flexibility of longer breaks that many employment positions would give. So let's shift to the right side of the cash flow quadrant. So this is the B side, the business side. They look at the bigger picture. They know financial statements, they know business plans, they look at the bigger system. These are the people that are hiring 500 plus employees. They're getting private money lenders, they're getting bank loans, they're getting investors, they're using other people's money to create these amazing businesses on a larger scale, that they're looking for the mastermind team to run their company. They're hiring the phenomenal presidents and office managers that can now hire those great people to do the next step. So they're creating systems. They're creating, not so much using their personal skills, they're using the knowledge and creativity they have. And if they don't know something, they know the right people to hire part of their company and their team. They're the very opposite of a self-employed person. Self-employed people tend to want to do everything themselves, versus a business owner is the complete opposite. Their time is so valuable to them that they are going to hire the expert in that skill, that field, that resource to join their team to make their business accelerate. They like to delegate tasks. They're good at being team leaders and fulfilling missions. They'll be at the meetings, the staff meetings, especially in the beginning, creating that mission and core values and making sure everything is running on that schedule created in the business plan. They have a strong ability to bring out the best in people. They want to create positivity. They create learning opportunities, growth. They want to have people happy to come to work, because it's going to make them more productive, and happy customers, which will increase the profits. The technical skills, we talked about that: reading financial statements, the marketing, the sales, the accounting, the management, the production, negotiating, communication, the business aspect of the system. They want to be very good and notice if things are strong or weak within their business. They can step back from their company. They could go all over the world and be gone for a few months, and their business will be running just as perfect when they come back. So it's one of those things that's very different than self-employed versus business owner. You're creating a system versus you are the system. Setting up a well-running company is just, it's so important. And I'm not saying as birth workers we need to have something that level. I think most of the middle class are more comfortable doing self-employment, doing a business on a smaller scale, 10, 15 employees, and then creating investor passive incomes. I don't know too many birth workers that are considering, oh, I want to hire 500 employees at this business. Birth workers tend to be self-employed and then creating a lot of passive income streams towards that financial freedom. The cool part is, in another section, we'll talk about the benefits of tax deductions for your business versus being self-employed will really help accelerate you towards financial freedom. So these are examples of people that are across history: Henry Ford, Robert Kiyosaki, John Rockefeller. These are those big people that created assembly lines, changed our society, our world for the better. So there's so much opportunity with a business to affect a larger community, a larger way the society looks at. Quadrant is by far my favorite. The passive income streams, the possibilities of creating passive income investments are endless. You can get an investment in return on almost anything if you have the right creative mindset. So by far, this is my favorite, and I think most, and there's a statistic that most of the financial freedom and rich, 70-80%, comes from the I quadrant, and the other portion comes from a mix of the business ownership and employment at their business, so making money off of it. But most of the rich, they really make most of their money in this direction. So it's taking your cash flow, it's taking the money you're making from your other revenue streams, putting it into something that makes you more money long term. So an example I always give is with real estate, you don't actually have to have your own money to make money. You truly don't. You can get a private money lender, you know the skills, how to negotiate, how to show them it's a win-win situation. You borrow money at 4 or 5% interest, but now you're taking that person's money and investing into a rental property that's making you 15-20%. You are thinking like a bank now. You are now using somebody else's money, paying them a lower interest rate to get a higher interest rate out of it. So that's the whole point of cash flow. So if you are putting your money into a stock, you're expecting every year to get more money out than what inflation would be taking. So inflation is 3% every year. If you are investing in the stock market, you're expecting to make 8, 9, 10% to even make the fees, the capital gain taxes, the hedging inflation all work out. So is your current stock market, your mutual funds making you that level of return? If not, find something that's going to have a better cash flow investment. So is there dividends? Is there other strategies you can put your money into to give you a higher return? This is definitely, as I stress, to get financial freedom, most people have to be good at the investment. You can hire a financial advisor. There's great companies out there that can help with that, and convert your money, your currency, into a long-term wealth system. Strong skills are needed on this side. Most people growing up in lower and middle class do not have the mindset, the knowledge, the skills to be on the right side of the cash flow quadrant. It is a skill that anybody can learn with time, application, getting the right mentors and resources. Anybody truly can become financially free. And I love to stress that because there's so many opportunities when you want to apply yourself and change habits. You can make a life you never even imagined possible. So Guide to Financial Freedom, we already touched on it, that most of the rich go into the investment aspect and a few work for their own companies, the 30%. Most people work, and then hope the system, the government, their company pension, their investment portfolio will take care of them in retirement. They don't do as much direct investing themselves, which always makes me worried in today's society. So we need to get that shifted. I want everybody to have financial freedom. I want everybody to have so many opportunities in life, access to travel, hobbies, health, just so many things in retirement, and to be able to even retire anymore. I mean, there's so much to think about as far as creating financial freedom for yourself and your family. So the big differences between the rich and the wealthy, there is a very specific difference between it. Rich is having lots of money, lots of materialistic things. Having a lot of things makes you quote unquote rich, but that doesn't really support you into retirement, into financial freedom. Wealth is a very different. You're living within your means. You're living actually below your current means, so you can use the other portion. Typically recommended about 20% of your income coming in every month should be invested and put into something for your future. Most of the lower class, middle class tends to live paycheck to paycheck because we use every ounce of our paycheck to splurge, to live more and more. As our raises happen, we increase our living expectations and our things. We go on nicer vacations, we buy nicer things, you increase your house size versus using 10-20% of your regular money coming in to invest in something else. So wealth has the definition of how many days can you live without physically working and still maintain your standard of living. So my goal with financial freedom is forever, that you can create a passive income stream from businesses, investments, that you can choose. I want to work at my business or I don't want to work at my business, and you're still not going to affect your standard of living. So even nowadays, there's so much with the American Red Cross in the pandemic that it's recommended we have 3 to 6 months of emergency funds to the side that can cover our daily living expenses. If there's a pandemic, there's a lockdown, there's a disability, you lose your job. Most people are living paycheck to paycheck. Most people barely have like $400 in their savings account, and that's so scary when we want to talk about a society having economic instability. I want everybody to have wealth. Rich is just a bunch of money, but if you say you're making $300,000, but you've got so much debt that your debt isn't actually being covered by each paycheck, you may have a lot of money, but you're not rich, you're not wealthy, you're struggling day to day. Just because you've got $1 million doesn't mean if you're living above your standard of living, you're still going to be struggling. How long can you live with your current passive income? My goal would be helping everyone create something that'll last you forever. It's going to take time. It's depending on your unique situation and how much debt you have, your skill set, your opportunities you've created in life, what you've already saved into different investment streams. There's a lot of variables, but I'm telling you, it is possible for anyone to be financially free. So I put this in here because I wanted everybody to understand that the income distribution is getting worse and worse, especially the last 15 years in our society. The rich 1% are drastically getting richer, and the middle class is getting squeezed. It's either getting squeezed into the lower class, or there's a few people that are able to change their habits, change their mindset, and jump into that upper class. I truly believe our middle class will be a thing of the past with this inequality of wealth. I think a lot of our riots and our frustration as a society is part of the lockdown, part of the pandemic, part of the racial injustice, but I think a good chunk of it is the bailouts with the Federal Reserve and the government and the corruption that's at play, that a lot of the laws and the bailouts and the kickbacks are to the elite. The stock market is mostly owned by the elite. The big companies are getting bailed out. The small little mom and pop shops are the ones struggling. The lower class, the middle class are the ones struggling right now and are not getting the bailouts and the help from the government that they would expect. So there's a massive income distribution, and it's going to keep getting worse. And so I think it's so important for the middle class to decide, am I going to change my habits? Am I going to change how I look at money and in ways to create income for my family? Because it's going to get harder and harder if you keep doing the same habits. You're going to be ending up lower and lower into that borderline middle class, lower class with less things to provide to your family. Versus if you start thinking differently, you start creating passive income, you start creating businesses, you start using these tax laws, business deductions, and legal things that the rich use, you can be smarter with your money and start getting in a different direction with your life. So think like the rich. That was the big question that shifted me 3 years ago to start this company back up. So for myself, I had my own private practice and I was totally self-employed and had the mindset of an employee. And I was struggling. I wasn't being successful. I was exchanging more and more of my time for less and less dollars. And I needed to step back. I loved my birth center home birth practice, but I was realizing as a midwife, I didn't have the business knowledge. I didn't have the financial mindset education I needed to be successful for this practice to serve women in my community. So I literally started Google searching be like the rich, think like the rich. Obviously, these families pass on knowledge. There's very classic things you can learn from. I'm a proof and evidence person. And I wanted a different path for my family. I needed to change habits. I needed to change where I was at because I wasn't liking the path I was going down. So I started learning being like the rich, business ownership, passive income, business ownership, passive income. There was a mental shift I had to do. The scarcity versus abundance, relationships, appreciation, being optimistic versus negative, using your creativity in a whole new level that you never ever even imagined. And so it takes time. I'm not saying I'm perfect and nobody will be, but to be able to acknowledge I'm not happy where I am now and I want to be somewhere different in the future, I need to analyze me. I need to analyze my strengths and weaknesses and what knowledge I have and what knowledge do I need to get. So I'm a huge advocate of continuous learning. I listen to audiobooks all the time. That's the other thing the rich do. They read and learn all the time. I had that mindset that, okay, I only had to study for nursing school. I only had to study for midwifery graduate school and to do my continuing education and the things at my job they made me do for mandatory education. And so it was a huge shift that the more I learned, the more I could think creatively about things, the more history is fascinating to me. Monetary history, economic history, the understanding of the politics, understanding the bigger system, the world economy really affects how you make decisions with your finances and your steps and where you want to go with things. So being like the rich, having that business, starting your own midwifery practice, starting your own birth worker practice of any kind is a huge step in the right direction. You get a lot of tax benefits that a W-2 employee does not get. Multiple investment streams are the big thing. So real estate, you can buy your birth center, you can buy a community center, you can buy your building that you're going to do your lactation services out of and rent the other rooms. So now you're making money off your business and you're making money off the building. That instead of leasing from somebody, think creatively, how can I make my space for my office make me money? So you have to shift how you look at things. So stocks and bonds are what people are more traditionally used to. Roths are a great way to save wealth. You pay your taxes now, and then you use in the retirement tax-free growing money. Taxes, I guarantee, are always going to keep going up, up, and up. So if you can pay taxes now and then have this direction of a pool of funds that you'll never have to pay taxes on again, that has huge potential with financial freedom. Health savings accounts are awesome. Health is the most expensive thing we're going to have to pay for long term. So if you can put money away with a health savings account, if you've got a high deductible health insurance plan, you can put away with a family, I think around $6,000 this year. That's tax-free money in, and then you can use it for medical expenses forever, tax-free money out. So if we can learn these tools and resources that are present to legally pay less money in taxes to the government. W-2 employees pay about 1/2 to 1/3 of their money to the government. People that own businesses and have real estate and have investment directions barely pay any taxes. You hear the big wigs, Amazon, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, they brag publicly they pay 0 in taxes, and it's totally legal. So if you could keep half your paycheck right now, what more could you be doing with that and opportunities in life? So that's why it's so powerful to do investments and start a business because of the tax advantages present. So an IRA is an independent retirement account. So that's a self-directed account that you want to invest in. There's a couple things you can't invest in, but most things you can. If you're passionate about something, instead of sticking your retirement money in a stock market you have no control over, you can now stick your money into something that you, using a custodian, can now manage. You could do a business, you could do lending, you could do, I know people that have done, they love football, so they'll buy season tickets for football games and then they'll sell the tickets and make money off it. You can do any of those things with your retirement account, following the rules. So I definitely say get an investment custodian, get a financial planner, people that are experts to help you with it, because there are legal ramifications if you don't do it correctly. So that's really important. So pensions were a great option. I know my grandfather and our grandparents loved their pension plans, but those are getting rare and few and far between. But it is an investment. You put in and you contribute, the company contributes, and you're supposed to get paid X amount after you retire until you die. Some people have that option of a pension, some people don't. Private money lending is a great way to invest. Maybe you're busy and you don't have anything specific you want to invest in at this point, but you have lots of money sitting around and you want your money to make you money versus sitting in a bank account at 0% interest or 0.01% interest. So you decide to lend to a startup business. You decide somebody wants to fix and flip a house in your neighborhood. You can be their money lender. You can get interest off your money and set the terms. You can be their bank. So there's so many possibilities with investing and just understanding what makes you happy and what knowledge and skills you have to do each of those investment streams. So there's other ways to invest. These are the less common ones, but I really want to stress their importance. So education, you're obviously having a high school diploma, statistically speaking, if you get an associate's, you get a bachelor's degree, you get a master's, a doctorate, a PhD, statistically speaking, the higher your degree is, the more money you should make. It's just as much for a typical degree. If you have knowledge and skills that are unique and they create value for somebody else, you're going to make more money. By me choosing to do financial education, financial planning, business aspect, and midwifery, I have a unique skill and value that I can contribute to a lot more people than if I just had my own business and I just had my own private practice. So you have to know that knowledge is power, but it's an applied knowledge. So you learn about all these things and you're actually applying them day to day. You're applying them to your community, to your relationships, and you're always looking at how can I help somebody else out. Your creativity is going to go through the roof when you look at that bigger picture of community give back with your education and your skills. Loyalty and hard work. This is more of an older school model of working for the same company forever, especially in the military, working for the government. Past 20 years, you get a lot of retirement benefits. So pensions and retirement benefits are getting harder and harder to get, but there was that investment. If you stayed with a company for 20, 30, 40 years, I know especially with my parents, that's a huge common theme of you devote yourself, versus my generation is like every couple of years you stay somewhere, you learn, you grow, you go somewhere else to get a higher raise and better benefits, and there's goods and bads to both directions. Having a large family used to be a big way people would invest with farmers, and having your kids be able to take care of you when you're older was an investment. It's more of a thing of the past just because healthcare is so expensive and the needs when you're older are so much more demanding that many of the children, they're both working all the time, the mom, the dad, the family units, the children. It's harder to ask your children to take care of you when you're older. So that investment sometimes works, but not always. Government retirement programs. I hear this so often and it's frustrating to me because, I pay into my Social Security and I expect by age 65, 70 that I'm going to get X percent as part of my investment stream as my retirement plan. And with all the predictions and all the government deficits, they're saying by 2034 that the money in Social Security is going to run out. That I don't bank on the government retirement programs as an investment stream. It's really hard to rationalize when you have a government that's not running things properly and do not have a background in business and are causing more and more deficits, that your Social Security you're paying into on all your paychecks and paying towards is going to be there for you in the future. So just really think about, we want to reduce our risk. We want to create financial freedom. We want to create investment streams that are more secure, things that you can control with your amazing skills and unique passion, and create value for your community. The sky is the limit of what you can do with investments. So that just to reinforce the benefits of investments, this is by far my favorite aspect of the cash flow quadrant, is staying ahead of inflation. Inflation is just a general term that your prices will increase every year, and your purchasing power decreases with that money, that currency. So it's about average 3% a year, give or take, depending on what report you look at and the ups and downs each year. So you want to invest in something that makes you more than 3%. If you leave it in a bank account and get 0.01% interest, you are losing purchasing power every year on that money. It used to be, before 1970, saving money, cash stayed the same, it had the same value, and it made sense. You actually got like 12 to 14% interest off your bank account back in the day. And so it made total sense back then to save cash and live off the interest of that cash. You had $1 million sitting at 14% interest, you could live really well off that. But that's not the case anymore. And I have arguments with my parents and family members because if you don't keep up with the history and the times and the monetary policies occurring, you're going to keep into that old habit mindset of saving up money. Debt is bad, and you're going to lose your financial freedom with time. So investing will help you to build your wealth and your options and choices in life. It'll get you to retirement. It'll get you to early retirement. I mean, you truly can retire in 8, 10, sometimes 5 years, depending on your baseline you're coming from, and choose to retire. You don't have to, but the possibilities and options you can have with financial freedom and investment revenue streams. So 1 in 3 women, or 1 in 3 Americans have nothing saved for retirement, and that scares the crap out of me. More than half of Americans have less than $10,000 saved in a retirement account. All it takes is one medical expense and they're wiped out and they're struggling and they're living off the system, their family members. When you become older, vulnerable, dependent, you want to be dependent on the investments that you've created and put together, not the hope that your kids, the system will take care of you, because a lot of us are going to be sorely disappointed. This is the part that's really important to me and why I'm such a huge advocate of businesses and financial knowledge to women and opportunities for birth workers. 27% of women are more likely to have nothing for retirement. Their partners, their spouses, the male counterparts are going to die when they're younger, and they're going to be more widows. They're going to be less financial education, more responsibilities with the kids, and it's hard. It's very hard for women. And so I really am passionate about women empowerment, women opportunities. I want us to have great births. I want us to have great upbringings of our families and opportunities. And I want us, when our kids are out of the house, to have great opportunities in life and not feel like we're in that lower poverty level because we didn't take the opportunities to invest in our future. Thank you so much for listening to this section. Yep, and then this is the other part that has to do with the benefits. I forgot about this part. The other benefits we talked about earlier was just the tax deductions and the tax deferrals. So really being able to put in money into an IRA, into an investment for retirement purposes. You can hold off paying taxes now don't pay that 33% taxes, and you can use that extra money to leverage to accelerate your investment growth. Business taxes are so many to list: your home office, your supplies. Why would you pay for your cell phone after taxed hard-earned money when your business can cover your cell phone and it's before you've paid any taxes? So there's so much money saving options. I've had people that we sit down, and by taking all of your standard, your gas, your car overhead, your internet, your computer, your equipment, so many things you pay for day to day in your living expenses, if we could convert them over to business expenses, you've just saved $1,000, $1,500 a month in taxes easily. So there's phenomenal tools to create wealth by being smarter with our money versus working harder with our money. And then the other thing I want you to think about, the other reasons that to have financial goals and investing in your future, your kids, like I have amazing strategies for my kids and creating Roth accounts for them. You don't have to pay taxes until after $12,000 each year of annual gross income. So you can pay your kids from your business, you pay them tax-free, you put that money up to $6,000 into a Roth account for them. They've now never paid taxes on that money, and you are growing so much wealth and opportunities for your children. If you know these strategies, you understand these systems and these options that are out there that the rich know very well for their kids and their families. Creating a family legacy, being able to have wealth that you can pass on to your kids and it will continue to grow. It happens too many times that someone passes away, the money is in the will given to the children, and the children don't have financial education. They don't have these knowledge and skills and resources, and it's blown and spent for things that the middle class lower mindset would use, versus now they use it to create investment and grow more and more. You want each generation of your children and your grandchildren to be more prosperous than you were.